Hi there. Welcome to another edition of Counterpunch with Trevor Loudon. Please like the show, share the show, subscribe to Epoch TV. If you're in a war, if you're in a revolution, you need to know your enemy to counter them. If you don't know your enemy, you will lose every single battle. So this show is to help prepare you. My books and DVDs are to serve a similar purpose. I'm going to talk about the World Health Organization today. We've been hearing a lot about the World Health Organization is trying to pass regulations that will give it complete control over health procedures in countries all over the world. The World Health Organization will become a sort of international dictatorship that can bypass national sovereignty, enforce vaccine passports and restrictions on travel and prescribe certain medications worldwide, a worldwide medical dictatorship. And I believe these reports are accurate. I think the framework has already been established. And it's not just the dictatorship that this could set up, that would be bad enough, but the fact that this dictatorship will be controlled by agents of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. The head of the World Health Organization, you've seen him on TV, Mr. Tedros of Ethiopia. Now, he's served as the head of the World Health Organization for a few years now. But before that, he used to serve on the Politburo, the central committee, effectively, of the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Now, that is an organization that traces its roots back to the Marxist, Maoist, Ethiopian student rebel movements of the 60s and 70s. Maoism swept the third world in the 70s. Everybody adored Mao Zedong. They wanted to adopt Chinese-style communism. And this is where Tedros' organization came from. It was an openly Maoist, communist organization. It had a secret wing. It was called the Marxist-Leninist League of Tigray, founded by a man called Miles Zenawi. Now, here's a tweet from Mr. Tedros praising his late Marxist leader, Zahawi. So he's not a guy who abandoned communism way back. He is still a communist to this day. Tedros was steered into his post by the CCP. They exerted pressure to get Tedros appointed. Remember, this man has zero medical training. He's not a doctor. He is an academic, a Marxist academic, now serving as the chief health officer to the planet. It is all by the connivance of the CCP. You know, Tedros is a favorite of Xi Jinping. There are many photographs of them together. Ethiopia itself is heavily integrated into the CCP's Belt and Road system, the big network of infrastructure projects and financial projects that have been initiated by the Chinese Communist Party to gain influence in third world countries and even first world countries, including Australia and New Zealand, all over the world. Tedros became heavily connected to the Chinese Communist Party through the Chinese influence in Ethiopia. In July 2018, Tedros met with CCP officials to increase CCP World Health Organization cooperation on healthcare initiatives. Note the date, 2018. The other World Health Organization official to watch is a woman called Susan Michie. She's British. In July 2022, she was appointed to the World Health Organization's Technical Advisory Group on Behavioral Insights and Sciences for Health. Now, what does that mouthful mean? It basically means she's a psychologist. She's a behavioral psychologist. That's what she does. She knows how to manipulate people's behavior for better health outcomes, meaning she knows how to get people to accept lockdowns and vaccinations. She is a manipulator of minds. That's her profession. Now, she has worked for the CCP in China on smoking cessation problems. You know, that's pretty innocuous, but it shows that she's a behavioral modification expert. The CCP hired her to help them to stop smoking in China. She has submitted papers to conferences in Cuba run by the Cuban Communist Party, psychological conferences. Did you know they had psychological conferences in communist Cuba? One paper she submitted was called Changing Behaviors Related to Health, the Application of Psychological Theory. There you go, changing behavior related to health, How do you get people to accept vaccines? How do you get people to accept lockdowns? How do you get people to do what the medical establishment tells them? How do you use psychology to do that? She's done this before. Susan Michie was an advisor to Boris Johnson, the Conservative Prime Minister of Britain. Now, she was doing that through the Independent SAGE organisation, the Scientific Advisory Group on Emergencies. This was a group of pretty much self-appointed experts who were advising the British government how to handle the pandemic. It really is all about matters of compliance. Remember her name, Susan Michie. And when she was advising Boris Johnson, she had a reputation as being a total mask freak. She was all about lockdowns, masks forever, lockdowns to the absolute maximum for the longest period of time. She was known in Britain for this. Now, Michie's job is to enforce this sort of thing worldwide. Any future World Health Organization dictates, she will be at the head of it, and she'll be advising the World Health Organization how to manipulate you so that you will comply, how to stoke your fears, how to feed your ego, how to use your sense of social responsibility against you. Now, Susan Michie, you'll be surprised to know, is a big supporter of the Chinese top-down health model. Read this little tweet from Susan Michie from not too long ago. Now, here comes the kicker. Susan Michie is also a lifelong member of the Communist Party of Britain.
You've been a member of the Communist Party for about 40 years now. You're still a member. I just wonder, and I'm putting this question on behalf of those who wonder about your politics, if your politics actually informs your sense of control. It's not just the medical argument, but you have a kind of a political bent to want the state to tell people what to do.
I've come on your programme as a scientist, as do all people who come onto your programme as scientists. They come on to talk about the evidence, relevant theories, how we approach our scientific disciplines, and you don't ask other scientists about politics.
Now, Susan Michie, as a young woman, was regarded as a tanky. That's a communist term. You're a tanky, you're a hardliner. What it meant was a reference to the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia in 1968. That divided the world communist movement because some communists thought, well, we want to see a liberalization in Czechoslovakia. We want to see a new face of communism. And the Soviets come in with their tanks and suppressed everything. And she was on the side of the tanks. She was a tanky. She was right behind those who drove the tanks into Czechoslovakia and shut down the reforms of communism. During the lockdowns, she worked with the Zero COVID group in Britain. That was British Unionists, British Communists. It was organised by the British Communist Party's newspaper, Morning Star. She was part of that. That was a communist program to enforce the lockdowns in Britain. As I've reported in earlier shows, the communists in Britain who control the unions used the education unions and their other unions to push lockdown as hard and long as they possibly could. The real goal of the lockdowns was not for public health. It was about wrecking the economies of the West. So the communist parties who are loyal to China deliberately kept the lockdowns going as long as they could. They enforced the masks, they enforced the vaccinations to inflict as much damage on Western societies and other nations as they possibly could. We've got to push against our countries belonging to the World Health Organization. It's completely corrupt, it's completely controlled by the CCP, but Western governments fund it. President Trump pulled the United States out of the World Health Organization. Great move. Excellent move. And what did Joe Biden, who is deeply in bed with China, do immediately he became president? He brought the United States back into the World Health Organization. So we need to agitate in America for the Republicans when they come back into power to get out of the World Health Organization for good. And everybody around the world, use your influence to expose the truth about the World Health Organization and make sure your government never signs up to their protocols. It'll be the death knell of the national sovereignty of your nation. And I have this old-fashioned belief, really old-fashioned belief. I believe that people from India should control India. I believe people from Libya should control Libya. I believe people from America should control America. And Australia should control Australia, and Brazilians should control Brazil. The World Health Organization believes they should control everybody, and everybody who loves liberty, everybody who loves their country, everybody who loves their family, everybody who loves God should be standing against this tyrannical organization and the CCP which backs it. So thanks very much for watching. Please like this show, share this show, pass it around, subscribe to Epoch TV, go to trevorloudon.com, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks so much. We'll see you again soon.